has a line of graded card cases that are waterproof, airtight, dust-tight, and hardened to protect and organize your valuable collection. Each of our cases come with pre-cut and pre-formed foam, so you don't have to cut and tear the foam when you get your case. The pre-cut foam inserts are sized to hold PSA, Beckett, SGC, and CGS slabs. Store it all safely and securely with a case from Pastime Marketplace. Check them out at www.pastimemarketplace.com.
Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of Hobby. What are we on here? Card Mensches. See, I did it this week too. Welcome to our 13th episode of Card Mensches. I'm Danny. That's John. And how are you doing tonight?
And you forgot the opening.
I absolutely did. Let's play it anyway.
All right.
It's too much fun. Hi, I'm Danny Black.
And I'm John Newman.
Welcome to Card Mensches. Hi, I'm Danny Black, and welcome to episode 13 of Card Mensches. That's John Newman, and if you haven't been watching, that's a good thing. How you doing, John?
I'm doing good. We got to fire the guys in charge of running the opening.
I'm telling you.
It's 2 weeks in a row they forgot to hit the button. It's not us. We have producers in the back room, so it's all their fault.
Skip, you're fired.
Skip's
fired.
Skip Schumacher's his name.
Right.
No relation to the baseball player.
Boom shakalaka. So what's going on? How's your hobby week been?
Good. I'm in the first day of a 4-day weekend. Being in the teaching profession, we have today off because we didn't have enough snow days taken. So we get today off. We get Monday off for Memorial Day, as most people do. So 4 days, and it felt like a Saturday today, and it's just Friday. So that's always a good feeling.
Well, when I asked you, I said, how was your hobby week? You've had a good hobby week, haven't you?
Yeah, I got, I spent some money that I was tabbing for the next.
You spent the money like a month and a half ago.
No, it's not that long ago. But got this card for those that are watching.
And for those that are listening, that's a stunning Hank Aaron rookie.
Yeah, 3.5. I'm actually debating. I got an SGC order going out Tuesday, and I'm debating having them look at it and see if it's worthy of a higher grade by their standards. So I haven't decided yet, but that's a possibility.
Well, I'm shopping for my card, so if I get them raw, I'll send it to you for the submission.
Yeah, no doubt. What else happened? I played my first game of softball at 50 years of age. That was interesting. I
wasn't sure you were going to make the show tonight. When you said you were playing softball yesterday, I had a backup match.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. It was weird. It was weird, and it was playing. And I've always played in traditional regular leagues, and this is a senior league where you had to be 50 or older to play. So I was actually one of the young guys. I was I could win Rookie of the Year again. Someone. It's
like the senior PGA Tour.
Yeah, it was. You know what it felt like? And listen, these guys can still play. I don't want to. It felt like if you ever been to Old Timers Day at Yankee Stadium, and what was weird for me was, you forget, when you're getting old and other people getting old along with you, sometimes you forget that. So there were some guys I played against when I was in my 30s and hadn't seen them in a while. And here we all are back in the league again. And they look different, they're heavier, and then you realize, yeah, guess what? So do you. You forget time doesn't stop. It's an eerie reminder that time is moving on, and we're just we're in the stream. And had some fun. I didn't have I played okay. I had a little rust I had to knock off. Hit the ball well. Fielding, I was a little slow on the reflexes, but if I keep playing, those will come back, I think, slowly.
Well, I genuinely was worried if I was going to see you tonight. So I'm glad, because I didn't hear. I thought you were in school today, so I didn't call you all day. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's in the hospital with 2 pulled hamstrings.
I was worried that was.
He's got 2 pulled hamstrings. This is why old Jewish men don't go running around and doing things.
Chris Ramsey says, John Newman, can you blast home runs in softball? Well, I'll say the last home run. I am a home run type of guy. I mean, I've hit plenty out. The last home run I hit was at age 48. So it'd be nice to hit one at 50. I've only played one game at 50, but the last one I officially hit was as a 48-year-old player in a regular league. So that's something to be said about.
Big news this week in the hobby world, I think, is what we want to talk about tonight.
I thought we were going to just talk my softball career show.
I thought we covered it all in about a minute. Was there more?
Well, I think we're good.
What do you think? You're Jenny Finch? I mean, you played one game, buddy. Are you in the Hall of Fame?
No, I'm not Jenny Finch. She has a glove named after her, so no, I'm not.
Well, I want a sub named after me. She can have a glove. I want a sub.
The Jared.
Oh, yeah. Well, that sub went bad. But what was the big news?
What?
If you haven't heard by now, PWCC purchased by Fanatics, and this is interesting for you and I, because of timing on a personal level. I have used PWCC for a little while since they've turned around some of their eBay problems, and I encouraged you. I'll say maybe I pushed you a little bit to follow, some of the stuff, and you used it a little bit. And then there was some layoffs and some rumors. I know you took your cards out of the vault just because you wanted to have your cards. I had a client who was very worried about what was going on with the layoffs and if PWCC was in financial trouble. But then we get word that Fanatics, who has no financial troubles because they're buying every company under the sun, has gone in and bought PWCC. So for me, it was just a whirlwind in a matter of a week or two, of everything going on with them. What do you think about everything?
It's smart. Whether you like Fanatics or not, it's a smart move by them because they get an instantly up and running marketplace and auction house in the sense they have a vault that's state of the art in Oregon with no state taxes. So like they checked all their boxes with one check that they wrote, and so, and I think, and if no figures have come out, as you know, Danny, but everything I'm hearing for that number may not be as high that what they paid as some think, because what I'm hearing is that PWCC got in a little trouble with that lending lease thing they did where they would let people take money off out of the, for the cards in the vault.
The cards were the collateral and people were defaulting on the loans, essentially.
Yeah. And so they got in from a little more financial trouble than people on the outside realized. And the first sign was the layoffs, and the second sign was Fanatics buying them. And then it becomes Fanatics' bill. But like you said, Fanatics can cover those bills and then some, and then some, and then some, and then some. And so, the days of getting a loan off your cards, I believe, or I don't think that's a model Fanatics is going to employ. And, what they do from here is what's going to be interesting. How much are they going to change, including the name of the bit? Is it going to be PWCC, a division of Fanatics, or is Fanatics going to just rebrand? Everything will be the same. The vault's the same, but we'll just be rebranded under something, Fanatics or something else that they coined themselves.
Well, I'm continuing to use them, but I put up this comment because I thought you might find this one particularly relatable. Sports doctor, card collector, also known as Steven. I use PWCC. They haven't shipped me anything in May. The layoffs must have been all the shippers. Similar experiences for all of us, to be honest.
Yeah, I had to, talk to 3 or 4 people and like, hey, I really need my order. I mean, I really just wanted to Hank to the full disclosure. There was 9 cards. The Hank was the big one, and then the rest were like anywhere from $20 to $100. The other 8. So I was more worried about the Hank. Not worried, but I wanted that. I wanted it here at my house sooner than later. So I was a pest, to be blunt honest. I really pestered them. I don't know if that's phone calls and text and I think I sent a carrier pigeon once, and I think it got there. But someone asked me too, Danny, like, now that you have all your stuff out, will you like buy stuff again? Like, I've never sold on PWCC, so that's something I haven't even done yet. But as far as buying, honestly, the way I would answer that is I'm probably going to wait to see, what happens now. Kind of, you're in a different boat than me as a broker and that sort of thing. So you have clients that you list their cards on different platforms, including PWCC. I don't have that itinerary. So I've shut down my buying anyway in preparation for the national. But even if that wasn't the case, I probably would be in a wait and see kind of MO with now this acquisition to see how they're going to do it. What are they going to call it? Are they going to change any of the structure, the pricing structure, and that sort of thing? So, so the answer will be I'm probably not going to be buying anything in the immediate future. Be interesting to see at the national. You know what I mean? I think we'll know a lot with that stuff at the national, whether it's going to be renamed. Because if it's going to be renamed, they're gonna have their own booth at the national. It's not going to be under just the Fanatics.
They might have their own.
Fanatics are going to have their booth, the Zero Cool, Tops, and PWCC, who's at the national. They'll be there, but what will it be called? And and that.
What did you nickname it now? The Fanatical or?
Oh yeah, if Fanatics buys the national, they'll have to rename it the Fanatical.
Yeah, I think they're close to that many booths that you can call it that.
Yeah, like you ask all your hobby friends, hey, am I going to see you at the national? Are you going to the national? Now it'll be like, hey, am I going to see you at the Fanatical, or are you going to the Fanatical? It's kind of fun. I'm not going to lie. It would grow on me if it really happened.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I love PWCC. I think it's a great platform. I think it's easy to use. I do have to do business on there. You're right about that. But you also know there's 2 cards I'm hunting for, and I check the auctions every week, and I check for deals every week. And there's very few places to go where you're going to get that many quality graded cards in an easy, interactive format where you can also trust that you're going to get what you pay for. That's an advantage to me. I don't think there's a lot of options.
Yeah, I mean, listen, whatever, and I was probably one of PWCC's biggest critics during that 2018 debacle with the feds supposedly involved, shill bidding, cut cards, trimming, all sorts of stuff. You name it. It was like Murphy's Law with that company. And listen, you gotta be honest. Whether you like, they really rebuilt their name. They kind of, the whole thing with eBay happened, but eBay never released any proof, so it's a little bit of hearsay there.
They just kicked them off the platform.
Well, they accused them of shill bidding, which is why they were being kicked off. But no proof was ever rendered, to my knowledge. And I had Jesse Craig on my show, and I still feel this way. Like, to me, if I'm PWCC, I would have sued for slander, right? You're saying, oh, you're shill bidding and you're off our play. If that's not true, but like he pointed out, it's not cheap to counter sue or sue. There's no guarantee you win. And I've also been told by a lawyer friend of mine that even if you win a slander case, your court costs aren't covered by your win. So
Right.
It still costs you to clear your name, and they just didn't think they had a lot of plans in place with their own premier auctions. They didn't want to spend a lot of time in a courtroom. They wanted to spend their time building and repairing their brand on their own side of the house. So that's why he said they didn't, countersue. But that being said, where I was going with that is they really sort of, rebuilt their company, and now they rebuilt it enough where it was marketable to PWC, to Fanatics, who now acquired them. So a lot of question marks: what changes, what doesn't change, and I'm in wait and see anyway, because I'm done buying stuff to the National. But I would be wait and see if this was October.
I know Chris Ramsey just asked how much does Fanatics raise prices on PWCC products. Well, the PWCC really doesn't sell their own products. They're selling other people's cards. So there is a fee structure. I would doubt that they raise the fees any higher. That's kind of an industry standard. They, if they raise it more than Golden, they're going to lose business to Golden. So I think it'll stay, kind of where it is from that perspective. Where it could get better is Fanatics can offer more services. So there you could see more add-ons. And I could see that being a situation where you can buy the cards from Fanatics and, have them graded and vaulted through PWCC, which they offer now.
Yeah, I don't think that they can't, buyer's premium's kind of high if you ask me to begin with.
It's the same one Golden. It's the same one all the auction.
Well, they're all high then, and they're all it's almost like collusion. They're all like, hey, let's do this together, and we'll all do all right, right? So I don't see that being raised, and I think it would be a very bad move if they did it. Like you said, they lose business. They're trying to maintain business, right? There's going to be people who are probably big fans of PWCC who maybe don't stay because of this. There might be some fan or some people who don't like PWCC who say now, well, PWCC don't own it now. It's Fanatics. Let me look at this where I wouldn't have before. So I think they're going to lose some people, and I think they're going to gain some people. And I think what their focus needs to be on is the people who are already there to keep them there.
I also wonder, where else do you go? eBay?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, eBay's the number one platform for almost everything, right?
That's not a positive experience, though, usually.
Even they've gotten better. They've made some improvements with some of their seller tools and their fee structures. You can get your money quicker. You can get your money in different ways. You can, if you have money that you've gotten from selling stuff, you can buy stuff with that money, directly out of your account. So they've changed a lot of their stuff. So I think they're better than they used to be too. So,
well, PWCC, one of the things I like is if you don't pay for an item, you're kicked off the site forever on the one strike. And eBay, you never know if you're getting paid or you don't know if you're getting paid or if you're not getting paid or if you're getting your item or not getting your item. And then there's really not any downside to the seller, or buyer who doesn't come through.
No, it's a good point. And people can demand a refund for almost no reason at all. And but they've improved in a lot of the other areas, and I do like the PWCC model, right? You mess up one time, you lose your privilege to use that site, and I like that, and I hope that doesn't change. But we'll see. Who's to say Fanatics don't come in and say, "Hey, let's do a 3 strikes you're out," or a 2, not to alienate anybody. I don't know. It's going to be interesting for sure. We'll see what changes if anything, including the name. What are they going to be called now?
Well, I told you I think they're going to be called PWC you later because Fanatics is coming in. But would you try Golden now that you've tried this type of marketplace? Would you try Golden's weekly auctions that they're just kind of starting?
Only if Peyton Manning was my sales rep.
That's the thing. I don't necessarily want to give my business now. Golden. Let's talk about monopolies and ecosystems. Golden's under the Collectors Universe or Collectors umbrella. So you've got PSA, Golden Auctions, Golden Marketplace, Card Ladder, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some. But yeah, they're a pretty big corner of the market, that people don't talk about nearly as often. And with the golden marketplace and the golden auctions, they're fighting the same thing.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know, man. I'm looking at Ruben's question here, not to get off tangent. It's a good one. It's one I get asked. I'm sure you have too.
Yep.
It was something Fanatics said when they first acquired Topps, right?
Well, real quick, Ruben says, do you guys think in the future Fanatics will have their own grading company?
Yeah, that's what I'm actually talking about. Is if you remember, Ruben, when they first acquired Topps, he was doing sort of like the tour of like financial network shows, and he mentioned them become grading as being one of the things they get involved in. Has it happened yet? I hope not. Because I think it's a conflict of interest, Danny. We've had this conversation a ton, non-recording it, right?
And
I think it's a huge. Imagine if Fanatics was a grading let's say Fanatics buys Beckett, right? And that's probably the most logical. If they're going to buy a grading card company, Beckett's going to be number one on that list. It's kind of been their MO.
I think it's either Beckett or CGS, but
So let's just use Beckett, for example. So they buy Beckett. Now they're a grading company. And I just, they're going to be grading Topps cards, and it's a conflict of interest. And then they're going to be grading Upper Deck cards, a competitor, and Panini, a competitor.
But
I wouldn't deal with. I mean, I wouldn't use them. So I love SGC and PSA. And most people, if anyone that knows me in detail, those are my two go-tos when it comes to grading. If Fanatics bought either one of those, which PSA is not going to happen, but if Fanatics bought SGC, and I'll say this now, and I hope it doesn't happen, so I don't have to eat these words and actually do what I'm about to say, I wouldn't send SGC no more. I wouldn't bulk sub for them no more. I just wouldn't feel comfortable in that situation. They're grading their own products, and I just think, it's. But I just don't. I don't.
Let me throw this at you. PWCC offers a grading service where they'll send it out for you. Now it's different; they're not grading it themselves, but essentially now Fanatics owns a company where they'll send out your cards for grading, and then they'll sell it, in their marketplace.
Yeah, but to a grading company they don't own. That's the difference.
Oh, that's true.
I just don't want them owning a grading company and grading Topps cards. That's like a huge conflict of interest. It's like me. It's like me grading my own cards and put them in slabs and saying, "Hey, here's my Hank Aaron rookie, now a 10, the John Newman Grading Company."
Well, first of all, the John Newman Grading Company is ridiculous.
I will scrap that idea.
Well, we're talking about Beckett. One of the things I think that people forget is Beckett's biggest value right now is probably their data. Their grading business is not a big money maker. They're
not now. They're down,
right.
On the rope. But that's the perfect scenario. This is what Fanatics likes to do, right? Buy a company at the lowest value and say, and then build it back up.
And they like data. They would immediately have the most comprehensive database of cards. A built-in marketplace of Beckett sellers that has millions of people, of buyers and sellers, still on the Beckett marketplace.
Well, let me turn around and ask you: Would it bother you if Fanatics bought Beckett Grading and became Fanatics Grading?
Well, first of all, I think hopefully they don't change the name because I'd like to see the name live on. But that being set aside, I know it should bother me, and I know it should be a conflict of interest, and I'm not sure how much it actually would.
Hey, I think we get off at different stops off this.
Here's the thing. I'm never grading with Beckett. So to me,
well, I used to grade with Beckett, full disclosure.
Sure.
My last sub was probably 3 or 4 years ago with them, maybe a little bit longer than that. But I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't grade if I don't grade with them. But let's say I was. And Fanatics acquires them, that would be the end of that. I just think it's a huge conflict of interest that I can't support.
But I'm with you. I'm sending a PSA and SGC anyway. So,
yeah.
And you're right. If they bought SGC, if Fanatics bought SGC, I'm probably not sending it to SGC.
Like I said, man, I love SGC. I send my cards there. I bulk sub for them. But
this is going out, guys. Make sure you return it quickly.
yeah, but if they were acquired by Fanatics, that would be the end of my relationship. My decision to do that. I wouldn't be able to support that because I think it's a conflict of interest, right? And listen, they're going to own 3/4 of the marketplace here in a year or two, as far as production of cards. So you could say, well, don't send Topps produced cards to Fanatics grading. But that's my other question. Are they going to be harsher on their competition's card to make them look better? Man, look at the quality. None of these Panini cards are getting a low rate of 9s and 10s. Oh man, Upper Deck struggles to get a 9s and 10s from Fanatics grading. But Topps, man, they're and that's that, and some might say, well, John, you're already judging them before even this is all. But it's a conflict of interest. It's not about judging. I just don't even want that cloud to be over anybody I sub with. And so I will go, if that happens, I'll be PSA only if they bought SGC. And I hope that doesn't happen, so I don't have to be just PSA only.
The more you talk about it, the more I probably, agree with you on the conflict of interest. I do think that Beckett is right for being bought. The question is who.
So you think they're for sure going to be sold?
I think if somebody wants a grading company, you already.
I think they're first on the list to be acquired because chips are down, and they're going to be the cheapest one to acquire now.
Evidently, Mike Petty says
that has a name still. I mean, you can probably
Mike Petty says you have inside information.
I don't. As far as what, like who's getting bought?
That's because Newman knows what's coming.
I wish. Here's my crystal ball right here.
I can tell you from talking offline.
Here's my crystal ball.
Yeah.
Hello. You know what? Speaking of I know what's coming. You know what I do like to do? I like to go to Psychic's house at 3 a.m. in the morning and wake them up. And when they get all pissed off at me, so didn't you know I was coming? Why weren't you waiting? You phony balonies. All right, that's an
old joke, but I love it. I actually used that one with it too. So.
What are you mad about? You should have known I was coming. I know it's 3 in the morning.
Put your dad jokes in the comments if you have them. So 2 things that I'm curious about. If people are not buying on PWCC, where are they buying? And do you have good dad jokes? I think that's all that we need in life. We need to know where our cards are coming from, and we need a little humor.
And there's a lot of platforms, man. Yeah, and anyone wants to put where
you
they
said that.
go.
Where do you buy them?
My Slabs. I'll buy some graded cards from My Slabs. I buy off eBay. I was a little bit off PWCC recently. That's a more recent. Sport Lots. I'll do some prospecting there, where I'll buy, a young player, where that someone's marked them, listed them cheaply. ComC, I bought a lot of stuff there.
Do you think ComC is right for purchase?
No, I think they're their own. I think they're their own machine. I don't think that. I mean, it's the old saying, right? Everybody has a price. So I guess what I'm saying there, Danny, is their price will be too high to be purchased by. I think they're doing real well. They've made a name for themselves. Can they be bought? Sure. If someone bucks up with a big number, I just don't think that there's going to be a big number enough where they're going to be purchased. So, My Slabs is a possibility. And Sport Lots, maybe someone can, their biggest problems, just their website's a little archaic. Maybe he sells the company and then let someone kind of modernize sort of what they do.
I was going to say that about ComC's app coming out. That could really change a lot of things for them, because if they wanted to go to a weekly auction format, I think they have the buyer base. They're one of the few companies that could have enough buyers and sellers almost immediately.
Yeah, they won't be bought because I don't think they can be, or I don't think someone's going to pay what they would want to sell. You got, like you said, you get the app that'll probably take them to the next through the next ceiling, and so they're definitely gonna wait and see what that does, and so.
But how great would it be if they had a weekly auction in a marketplace like PWCC or Golden? I would love to have that as another option.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of I'm not a ComC power user. I'm sort of where I use them. I have stuff listed. I sell stuff on there, but I'm definitely not anywhere near a power user. I don't know what you want to call it. Just sort of on the casual level.
I have lifetime sales of $19 on ComC.
Yeah, I got you beat considerably, but I still there's people who, they do some serious transactions on there, buying and selling. I'm not.
But that's my point. There's, to have a site work like PWCC, and this is why I think Fanatics bought them, is they have the user base. They have enough buyers and sellers. If you and I wanted to start a place tonight, we wouldn't have enough people to buy and sell. You just couldn't start it. Here's Ruben says, I've used eBay, 4 Sharp Corners. A lot of people like 4 Sharp Corners. My Slabs, ComC, and my local card shop and shows. Well, yeah, those are always my preferences.
I've got to check out this 4 Sharp Corners. I'm hearing a lot about them. They've sort of replaced PWCC as one of the biggest movers of cards on eBay.
Yep.
And I've heard a lot of good stuff about them. So they're on my list to kind of check out what they've listed. Greg Moore's cards is another one. That guy moves in a lot of inventory.
And a lot of vintage also.
A lot of vintage. Greg Moore's a lot of vintage. I hear a lot of people, former sponsor of Sports Card Nation, they sell a lot of cards, like you said, especially on the vintage side of the house. And one thing I'll say about Greg Moore is they seem to have quantities of cards where other people's have singles and they'll have duplicates and multiple copies.
And what I was going to say, they also will show you different, conditions of the cards.
Yeah. So they're another one. So there's, we can talk about some of the defunct ones, right? Star Stock, no one talks about it anymore. There's always somebody that replaces. When someone goes down, someone steps in and fills that.
Well, but my argument is I actually think there's going to be less, and that's why I think Fanatics bought PWCC instead of starting their own. I think it's so hard to get that user base built in. I mean, as much as Fanatics has a name, if they opened up their own, marketplace today, I don't think everybody's leaving Golden and PWCC and rushing over just because it's Fanatics. So I think they almost had to buy an existing company.
No, that's a great point. I think there's, the market's kind of quieted down, right? The hobby's not dead. Let's not say that. And believe me, I'm as someone who sells cards, I'm still doing sales and doing all right. My last 6 shows have been pretty good or even better than pretty good. And so, but stuff is selling cheaper. I think expensive cards are becoming a little bit harder to sell. There's a limited market for them. They're nice to have. They're nice to acquire. But, when I do shows, and we've had this conversation, Dan, you just did your first show in a long time yourself in Monroeville, Pittsburgh, my second hometown or third.
I'd like to thank the Doubletree Hilton, by the way. They were fantastic. Sorry I took your key with me. I just found it in my wallet.
Yeah, they're gonna charge you like $50 for that thing, maybe. But so it's interesting, right? It's interesting, and when I do shows, I make a lot of my money on between that $20 to $100 range. Do I have 4-figure cards in the showcase? Yeah. Have I sold them out of the showcase? Yes, but it's probably easier to sell $50, $20 cards rather than $1,000 card. But when you do, right, it's always a nice feel. It's always a nice.
I'm finding that the online marketplace is, not to keep going back to it, are selling high dollar cards much better than card shows.
Yeah, and I think that's where people are going, right? Because they know, your card shows. I think people are there more a lot of times for more quantity rather than even quantity, and so they're or quality, I should say. They're there more for quantity over quality, so they're looking to come out of the show with a bag. I think for those who are looking, for a single card of significance, online auctions are kind of where a lot of those transactions take place. There's relationships there. Let's be very blunt and honest about it. There's people, significant buyers who know people behind the scenes. Hey, I'm in the market for this. You see one, you list one. Give me a call, give me a text, give me an email. So there's a lot of that stuff going at that level that you won't,
All the
at a
auction
local
houses, all
show.
the auction
Now,
houses
regional
always have
shows
private
and
buyers.
nationals a different thing.
Yeah. No, I was agreeing with you that there's private buyer connections and all these companies and auction houses. Not everything sees the light of day. There are a lot of these connections are made on phone calls and behind closed doors.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
and
no,
a lot of the bidding,
I'm agreeing with
comes from phone calls in some cases. If someone's not by a computer but is interested in something, I think it's called a proxy bid. If my
you. Yep.
nomenclature is correct. So yeah, I mean, again, I like having it's nice to have an expensive card, but the more expensive the card, the harder it is to more people ooh and ah and point to it and be in front of your showcase. Hey, check this out, man. This car, yeah, that's nice. You get a lot of conversation from it, right? I've been fortunate. I've sold some of that stuff, right? But my wheelhouse is that $20 to $100 in single card range. Even some lesser ones, even $5, $10 cards. That stuff adds up in its own right, and it's I like to have stuff. If anyone's ever seen my 2-3 tables that I usually have at a show, my prices really cover every budget. I'm very budget friendly. I try not to close anybody out. You go to the national, right, and it's awesome. Breakers Row. I'll use them for example. They got one case. It's like all Mike Trout RPAs. They got another case, all high end Michael Jordan. The first thing I say is, how did they even obtain all this stuff? Like, what did this cost, right? But if you're not in the market for those, right, you're gonna ooh ah, your jaw's gonna hit the floor. You're gonna pick it back up and then reset your jaw, but you're probably not buying anything, right? But again, with some of that stuff, their show could be made. Their whole week, as you well know, Danny, can literally be made with one sale.
Well,
Right? You
because
sell a
you're
card
saying
for
cards are worth
$50,000,
more than cards.
$100,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's your week, and obviously they're gonna probably not just sell one card. They're gonna sell multiple cards. But you sell a card of that significance. Good evening, Orlando Collector's Dream. So it's crazy. Well, the stuff you said, and you can't compare a national to your local card show, right? I mean, it's apples to ours, even worse than that. But regional shows, I think we're the bigger, higher dollar card show are your regional shows and your big shows.
Let me catch up on the text a little bit. Chris wanted to know about the weekend. Chris, I really don't take long weekends. I work whenever I need to, and I take off whenever I need to. So I'll be working most of the weekend and hanging out with my family and going to minor league games tomorrow. But, if you have cards to sell or to buy, call me. I'm always available.
Yeah, you're home. You work from home, so you kind of like you make your own schedule. You do make your own.
I do carpool, and then I work all day. That's pretty much my routine. Collector's Dream, you said hello there. Wanted to make sure we caught up. I sound like Nicolas Cage, evidently. I haven't heard that one before. Did Panini ever buy Leaf? No. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but it did not happen. Even though multiple people said it was done, it was not done. So
Yeah, I'd love to be a fly in the wall in some of these boardrooms to see what's really going on. And but no, Leaf is its own company still. Panini is still its own company still. For the moment, we'll see. We'll break news if we hear anything. And I'll be honest with you. I'm not gonna lie. I do sometimes get like you, some information comes from sources inside a company, with, a caveat. Sometimes I'm telling you this, guys, but don't repeat it, please. I haven't heard anything on that front now that it's kind of died down. So I don't think anything's imminent there. And so I don't know. I don't know what happened, or if it was more people speculating and just starting a rumor.
just to clean up also a little bit, do you think Fanatics will buy a grading company? We touched on that a little bit earlier. They probably want to, but it's probably not going to happen just for a conflict of interest. It's probably not worth it in real-time dollars to them, to what they would actually make versus what they could lose in reputation and everything else. So I think that's kind of where we fall there, is we don't think it would happen. PWCC buying ISA, the conservation company. That'd be interesting. The vaulting and taking care of.
ISA is a grading company too, owned by. I think OTS Sports has a stake in it. I don't know if it's a full. I don't know all the details, but
I will say as a broker, I don't use them at all as a grading company.
No, I don't either. But I still get like emails and promos, and so I believe they're owned by a big powerhouse in the hobby. I think might be Jason Kuntz. I could be wrong.
Yes, because that was I think it was Jeff Wilson that did a piece and somebody else, but he's got a shady history as well.
Yeah. As Mike Petty, there's Mike Petty commenting right there, and I've heard that.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep. So I've heard that too. Just like I've said, PSA and SGC are my go-tos right now, and to answer your question, Orlando, I think Fanatics would love to own a grading company, but I think they know that will be such a red tape deal and such a PR nightmare that I think it's not that they can't afford it. I think they just don't want the headache that will come along with trying to convince everyone that there's no conflict of interest when most people will feel there is.
Mike and Orlando are on every live, according to Mangini.
Well, maybe they've cloned themselves, John. So maybe it's not really just them. Maybe it's their clones.
So Collector's Dream says, thanks, John, for talking about that, even though I think I gave the answer first. But sure, thank John. Give him all the credit.
I'm better looking than you. It's close. We're both ugly. I'm just the least ugly. No, actually, I don't even. I can't say that with a straight face.
Mike Petty, I live for live. LOL. And Mike and I are twins from Collector's Dream. Well, guys, we appreciate having all of you, and we are every other Friday night. So if you want to come hang out with us, this is what we do. Is we just we try to be cheers with cards.
Yeah, and if everyone has like a future topic they want to hear us chop up, by all means, we're very open to feedback and that sort of thing. Like Danny said, shameless plug, we're live every other Friday, and if you miss us live or you don't want to see us live because of our ugly mugs, I get it. You can hear us on audio on the following Monday of that Friday, audio only.
I'll let you read this one because I know that you had a special relationship with your grandparents.
Yeah. Mike says, I love the Mensches. My grandpa was a Mensch, right? We all should try to be Mensches, right? It's what you try to be. For those that don't know, scrolling on the bottom, Mensch is a Hebrew word for a kind, thoughtful, and honorable person. And if anyone, it's become, we've had this conversation, Danny, while it may be a Hebrew word, it's kind of crossed over and become like an English language word. You hear people of non-Jewish faith or of not Jewish heritage using it, and I'm okay. That doesn't bother me because it's a term of endearment. And so if anyone ever calls you a mensch, it's a good thing, right? Sometimes it can sound, if you didn't know, it might sound sort of bad, like you're a mensch. And then you might say, oh boy, I'm going to punch you in the face. Don't do it because that's just a compliment.
You would no longer be a mensch if you did that.
Yeah, if you did that, you lose your mensch badge.
All right. So I think we've covered the PWCC pretty well here.
Yeah.
Any final comments on that?
Like a lot of people, Danny, I want to see how this all shakes down. What do they change from the name and how fast? That's what you don't want to be called. The putts, as John.
But you're right. That has become universal.
And thank you, Chris. I want to see what happens. What is it going to be called? How fast? What is their setup going to look like if you're going to the National, right? Before it becomes the Fanatical, after Fanatics buys the National. So I want to see what changes, what doesn't change, and that sort of thing. And I think a lot of people are curious.
Well, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Experience, quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry? We are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com.
Pastime Marketplace has a line of graded card cases that are waterproof, airtight, dust-tight, and hardened to protect and organize your valuable collection. Each of our cases come with pre-cut and pre-formed foam, so you don't have to cut and tear the foam when you get your case. The pre-cut foam inserts are sized to hold PSA, Beckett, SGC, and CGS slabs. Store it all safely and securely with a case from Pastime Marketplace. Check them out at www.pastimemarketplace.com.
Hey, great comment. I switched on the screen. I took a pit stop, got 4 new tires, and passed you. From Mike Robo, I want to put this up here. I know we're kind of done, but a good point by him. I kind of concur. I hope Fanatics customer service is better than that of PWCC. Yeah, I think that's a lot of people's sentiments.
Well, I think, to be fair, this has been a tough week to get good customer service at PWCC.
True, but I think it's even before that. I don't want to give him a free pass, Danny. I think there was some stuff.
Fair enough.
That might be more with the layoffs they had, because a lot of it probably seems to come out.
Well, who had the comment earlier? I think Steven had the comment earlier that all the layoffs, must have been in shipping. I think you're right.
Yeah.
And then what do we have? Mike Petty, look at this fancy commercial. That's the only way Newman rolls. I've learned when you do content creation with Newman, it is always first class with the sponsors. So we appreciate all of them. Now,
I like this one. Fanatics to buy SCN. I don't know if that's Sports Car Nonsense or Sports Car Nation, or maybe both of us. So I don't know. Yeah, I just took it off the screen. I can be bought. I can be bought, but I'm going to keep the. They can buy the show, but I'm keeping the hobby is the people tagline. That stays with me.
All right, Ruben, your call is important to us. Your wait time is 3 days.
And if you get mad at them, they'll say it could have been 4. So
right, that's funny. All right, well, I know we wanted to quickly touch on and get people's opinion on a certain specific NBA championship round game. And as we give advice here, we always want to remind people.
Welcome to the failure segment, where John and Danny share their picks sure to go wrong.
So the pick today is, will Boston come back against Miami and pull off the upset? What do you think, John?
Well, man, this thing looked like it was going to be a 4-game series. Miami, bull raced out to a 3-0 lead, and Boston's won the last 2, and in convincing fashion. And they're coming back from the dead. It's hard to. I'll say this: I think Miami wins this series, and I'm only going to say that because Eric Spoelstra is the coach. He's an excellent coach. Probably doesn't get enough credit. If they were coached by someone else, maybe not named Derek Spoelstra, I'd say Boston has a chance to go to 7 games and win this thing. I know that's kind of chalk, being that that team has a 3-2 lead. I just think it's hard to beat anybody 4 times in a row. I think it's harder to beat an Eric Spoelstra coach team 4 times in a row.
Well, from my viewpoint, 1 game. If Jason Tatum can lead them to even it up at 3-3, anything can happen in a game 7.
It's true. It's true. I'll say this: Boston's the better team. If you look at if all things being equal, no one has a game lead. You look at the rosters. Boston is the more talented roster.
Whose cards go up the most?
If
either way,
Miami, either way.
Tatum
Jimmy Butler.
Boston.
Miami wins. Jimmy Butler's carrying that team on his back, so it's Jimmy Butler. And I think for Boston, Jason Tatum's stuff's already kind of up there already. I think you got to look at, Jaylen Brown. He had a bad game the other day, but if he turns it on like he's capable of, and they win the next 2 games, he's a guy you gotta you gotta look at. I think, and I think, and then I said Boston's the better roster player wise. I think the Heat have the better coach in Spoelstra. So it's going to be an interesting game 6. And like you said, I think you hit it on the head. If Boston wins game 6 and forces a game 7, then it could be anyone's game. So I think Miami's got to really buckle down and try to get it done here in game 6, or we could be talking about a team winning 4 straight games and coming back from being 3/4 buried to unbury themselves and be in the final.
Well, I'm going to ask you to pull out your crystal ball again, because do either of these teams have enough gas left in their tank to take on Denver in the finals? Because they're beating each other up in this round.
I think Boston matches up the best to beat Denver. I think if Miami wins the next game and wins the series 4 games to 2, I think Denver is a more talented team. Now, that being said, I just said Boston's more talented team, and Miami might beat them. So you can't count it all. I'd like to see Denver win it all with Jokic and being he could have won the MVP this year too. He didn't. We finished, I believe, 5th, and I think he's obviously a great player. I think him getting a ring would really vault him up into that conversation more.
You're taking my point. I'm agreeing with you on this.
Yeah. So I think if Denver, if Denver in their heads, they're not going to come out and say it. That I think they're almost rooting for Miami. I think they match up better. I think if it was Denver, Miami, I would definitely pick Denver. If it was Denver, Boston, I would think a little bit about it, and that would be, to me, a more competitive series. But you don't know. You don't know. Look, sports is a crazy thing. Look at the Panthers in hockey, an 8 seed going to the Stanley Cup final. So once the postseason happens, you can almost forget about.
You just got to get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So here's getting back to the original question, and I'm going to tie this together with the beginning. If I were to invest in somebody in the NBA playoffs right now, it would be Jokic, and I would use a vault so I don't have to waste any time. I'd buy the card today, wait till the NBA finals, and sell it next week in the vault and not wait for any shipping, and quick flip it that way. And there's an advantage to using a marketplace or a vaulting company.
Yeah, that's assuming a Denver championship.
You see how I snuck that in there like it's definitely going to happen?
Well, they're going to be the favorite, I believe, for the reasons you said, right? They're getting all this rest right now. They're watching coaching staffs and players are probably watching these 2 teams beat each other up and what they're running. So they're going to have that, a little bit of advanced scouting going on. I mean, they're going to be the favorite against probably either of these teams. I think they'll be a bigger favorite against Miami than they would be against Boston.
All right. What do you got going on this weekend?
Not a whole lot, which is sometimes the best weekends, right? Just some deck time, a little yard work, some deck time, some beverages, probably a cigar or two, some music, and a few naps in there as well.
Oh, sounds good.
For an old guy who played softball at age 50.
Like I said, I had a backup mensch ready to go just in case you had pulled 2 hamstrings. So
Well, I pulled something. I don't know I even had it, but I pulled it, and I don't even know what to call it. It's a little sore today. It's starting to feel a little bit better tonight. So hopefully whatever it was goes back where it was and still spins on its radius and all that stuff. So
all right. Well, I like this comment. Time to look at some cards. I think
listen, the cards are better looking than us two, so I concur with Orlando there.
Absolutely. But for everybody who joined in live and for everybody who's going to listen on the podcast, thanks for listening to Card Mensches. And John, say goodbye.
Goodbye.